Hi everyone. Good morning. So let's we have almost 40 of you here. So we are going to just I'm going to just start it so that we don't waste any time. Let me share my screen now. All right. So today we are going to talk about election coverage, and we all know that election is coming soon in Malaysia, but we are not sure how soon. Okay, it's either in the next few months or probably next year. Nobody knows that. I don't think even the Prime Minister knows it yet. But anyway, which means we have a lot of time to prepare for it, right? And which means that it's good for us to start. If you have not started brainstorming your election card reporting project, it would be good to start as early as possible. So the first thing is that any project needs a lot of preparation. Good project definitely needs a lot more preparation. So today, I'm here to share with you some of the ideas and practical tools that might be helpful when you are preparing for your election coverage using data. So today we are going to talk about, how do you use data to cover an election. All right, before showing you all the different examples, first I would like to, break the whole election coverage into 3 stages. So the first one right here, it's before and during the election. I think probably the most important thing that the journalist should do during an election is to give as much information, not as much, but to give important information, effectively, delivering important information to our readers, to the voters, so they are able to make an informed decisions that is best for their own interests, right? How do they make the decision really depends on what kind of information they receive. And this is where we can play our role. And also this is where, other stakeholders or other parties are trying to manipulate or trying to influence the information ecosystem so that they are able to win the election, or the election result is favorable to them. And we actually have another workshop which is on fact checking. But today we are going to talk about how do we help voters to make informed decisions by our coverage using data. And the second stage is, of course, the election day itself, which a lot of attention would be on the results, right? Of course, the voting, whether it is a free and fair election, right? But overall, if you look at the past few general elections, during election days, we usually don't get a lot of controversies. Of course, there are rumors saying including like blackout here and there, but most of those are not proven. And after election, we have the post-election reporting, which the role is very different. If before the election we are trying to help voters make informed decisions, after the election we are trying to help voters know who has been elected, and also how they can monitor or keep the people in check through our reporting and through the information that we provide. Okay, so there are 3 stages for election reporting using data. And for these 3 different stages, I'm going to show you some examples to give you some ideas on what kind of projects that we can do to make sure that we play our role, we deliver our responsibilities in the election. The last session of today workshop, we would be looking at some practical sessions. There are 2 things that I want to show you. One is how do you convert data from PDF to spreadsheet, And how do you make an election map? I'm going to share with you some data set and some tools. So first, let me put this link in the chat box. This link will open up a share folder that I have shared with you. And inside the share folder, there is slides for today's presentation. There are also there's also a a Google Doc document, which is here. And all the stories that I will be presenting, all the links are in this Google Doc, right? So make sure that you have this folder. And we are going to make a map using the JSON file here, which is a map file, and also to convert data from PDF into spreadsheet using some tools. All right, clear? If you have any questions, feel free to put it into the chat box. We'll get to those questions from time to time. Right, probably the most important thing that we can do before an election is to help the voters to understand who are the candidates. They have to understand the candidates as well as their political parties before they are able to make a decision on who to vote for, right? So here I'm going to show you, several stories that I think, they have done a very good job in introducing the candidates in a more effective ways. So the first is, we should cover, of course, the candidates, basic demographics, for example, age and gender and things like that. And one story that I always like to show is the story by Singapore Straits Times. Let me open up that story. So this was done by Straits Times Singapore and for their 2020 GE. And you can see that they combines interactivity with data. So first they ask you, how many candidates have a background in law. So you are able to draw a circle to make a guess. Let's say I have selected 28. And they will compare your guess with the answer. And you keep scrolling down. They'll tell you more about the background of the candidates, right? Most of them coming from business, law, and banking. If you look at the ruling party, they have candidates from all kind of backgrounds, but all the candidates with military and police background are from PAP. And then you see who are they. Then the opposition party, the Progress Singapore Party, all of them are from IT engineering background. Sorry, 4 of them. The Workers' Party, most of them has a background in law. Right. Then they ask you how many candidates are new faces. Again, I can make a guess. And okay, my guess is very far from the answer. Okay, and you'll see that how many new faces in the previous election, how many of them are from different parties, right? So this project is well executed because first, it has a very clear visualization. Second, it has the element of interactivity, right? So you make a guess first, and then they tell you the answer and show you the visualizations. The young candidates, right? And then they show you the distribution of the age, who is the youngest and who is the oldest. Then if you can look at the age distribution in each party, and you will see that actually like the Workers' Party is quite young, most of them. PAP has a very good distribution. All right. Then the second one, I encourage you to go beyond just the basics candidates demographics that you can find from their profile. So in some websites, some news website, they go further more by collecting their own information about the candidates and show it to their voters in an interactive way. So the two stories here I want to show you, one is from BBC in Indonesia, and another one is from Reader from Taiwan. Both of them, are looking at the issues of political empires in these two countries, political empires, right? Which means they want to look at which candidates have family members who are also lawmakers. This is the BBC story. So it is an interactive story here. There's a small box here where you put in which province that you are going to vote. So let's say I put Jawa Tengah, and you will tell you that there are, out of the 24 pairs of candidates, 2 of them are from political dynasties or involved in corruption cases. Yeah, so it's not just political families, but also corruption cases. And you see their profile and how are they related, to another lawmaker who is their family members. Okay. Yep. So you can see how they are linked together, right? The Taiwan project by Reader is very similar to the one in BBC. So if I just scroll down, you will see that they rank the candidates, right? For example, the first candidates, this guy Chen Qifeng, he is contesting in Pingdong, all right? And you see that the blue color, right, shows that how many times he has been elected as a representative. So he is a 4-term lawmaker. And then he has a father who is a 2-term lawmaker. He has a brother, 1-term lawmaker. He has another brother, 1 term as well. Then he has an in-law who is a 6-term lawmaker, and then son-in-law 2-term. This is his nephew, I think, 8-term. So if we add up all the family members from his families who are lawmakers, right, they had a total of 24 terms in the family, right? So he is definitely, from a very strong political family or political dynasty, right? And then they also show you the other candidates who have such background. And they actually, manually collected all these results and find out, all the kinship, the family ties of all these candidates, right, since 1940. Okay, so this was really hard work. There's no official data to show you, how are they related to each other, right? I don't think the Taiwanese election required them to fill in those information, right? So the journalists actually have to spend time to build this data set by themselves, right? But always remember that if your data set is not available out there and you build it yourself, and which means, it has a lot of values, right? Because nobody else have it, only you have it. Another angle that you can look at candidates, is to look at sensitive information. For example, criminal records, court cases, assets, donations, things like that, right? Most of the time, this information are not available from any official sources. So if you are able to find information about them, for example, let me give you some ideas here. Just throw out some ideas. I'm not sure whether it's doable. For example, if you have the list of candidates, right, you can actually work with legal firm, right? Because lawyers have access to all the different database. Sometimes, of course, they have to buy the data. about background of any citizen in Malaysia, right? So if you do like if you are buying or selling houses through a lawyer, usually the lawyer will help you to do a background check on the buyer or the seller to make sure that this guy is not bankrupt, he has no criminal cases, good record, good citizen, things like that, right? So imagine if you are able to work with lawyers and trying to get all this background checks for the candidates, you are able to retrieve a lot of information about the candidates that are not on public domain. And from there, probably you can do a better job of informing your voters who are these candidates. So I'm going to show you a story by Reuters. It's about the Indian election in 2019. What interesting here is that they use all the information from the nomination forms, right? The candidates have to fill a form, and in that form they have to put their own profile picture. This is how they got all the profile pictures. And all those forms are public document. So in the interesting way of presenting the candidates is that they use all these pictures and ask you to keep scrolling down. Okay. And you see how many of them. You have scrolled through 2,000. Keep scrolling. And there's one seat with 185 candidates, which is crazy, right? Scroll down, further down, scroll through 5,000 candidates. Once you have reached the 7,000 candidates, you started to see female candidates, but only 700 of them, about 700, are female, which means about less than 10% of the total candidates. And there are also 6 candidates that are third gender. The interesting thing is here, right? They also look at the criminal charges against the candidates. And they're able to find some crazy candidates. You can see that this candidate, his name K. Surendran, he has 240 cases against him. Another candidate, Dean Kuria Kose, 200 cases. And remember that, these are not civil cases, these are criminal cases, right? As if criminal cases is a criteria to become a candidate in India. But again, I'm not to belittle India. India is still the largest democracy in the world. But just interesting that you're able to find all this information about candidates, right? It gives more information for the voters. Before they vote, they would be wondering why my candidate has 240 cases. What happened to him? Is he a reliable lawmaker? If with such background, right? But this information are again available. They have to fill in. I think they have to report it, declare it to the election commission, and those information are public information, which is different in Malaysia. In Malaysia, to become an candidate, you don't have to disclose, whether you have any civil or criminal cases. But if you do a background check, or there's another idea that I have been thinking is to look at their CTOS profile. But of course, you have to buy from CTOS. Yeah, probably you can work with CTOS to see if they are able to do it as a CSR program, right? To provide all the information of these candidates. And I believe CTOS has a lot of personal information about someone. Right, and then you have the money, which is the total net assets of all the candidates. Again, they have to declare it before they contest. Then they look at the age, demographic, the usual data, right? So imagine, right? This is the stage where if the more information you're able to provide to the voters, it helps them to make a better decision, and not just in the quantity of information, the amount of information, but you need to find a way that is engaging and effective in delivering the information. So again, you can see that those stories. This one, they use the pictures to make it more engaging. This one is there are some interactive. You can search for the candidates. Here also interactive. And this one is interactive with very good visualizations to make the information more digestible and easy to understand and also to remember. Another important criteria for voters to consider before they make a decision is to look at the performance of existing lawmakers or the incumbents, right? You are able to get how many questions they have asked in parliament, what type of questions they have asked, right? Because the main responsibility of a lawmaker, of course, is to discuss and pass law in the parliament or in the state assembly, right? So how is their performance, right? And we as the media, the fourth estate, so-called, it would be good if we are able to provide that information. Here, I would like to show you one website, but I think the website is currently down. Yeah, okay, it's up. Good. So this is a website called My MP, built by several local journalists. But they don't build it as in the name of news publication. It is more like their individual initiative, right? So they collect all the information about the current 222 MPs, and they put that up on this online database so everyone can check. For example, if you look at Dr. Zulkifli bin Ahmad, the former health minister, who is the MP of Kuala Selangor, and you can see for each MP, they will show you, how public can communicate with them, their political loyalty, which means whether they have make any political switch before, the ethics, which means how many questions they ask in the parliament, and their attendance. For example, if I click on it, you will see that these are the questions that he asked in the parliament. Ketelusan, not available. Menang, how many election he has contested and how many he won and lost. Okay. So then his profile, age, and all the demographics, education background, things like that, right? So this is I think it's a very good initiative to help voters understand their MPs. And hopefully, when elections is coming, they'll be able to provide the information of all the candidates, not just the current MPs. But this is an initiative, where I think they are open for collaboration with journalists because they themselves are journalists. So, I really think that you should get in touch with them to share to see if there's any way to share the data or to use their portal to help with your reporting. All right. Just now was about candidates, right? Another thing that we should consider is, we need to tell our readers what would change the outcomes of the elections, right? Because if we want to have a vibrant democracy, that means participation from all citizens. And what motivates you to participate in the election, right? One factor is that, you think that your vote is important. And how can I show you that your vote is important or less important? This is where this is where we can play a role by doing some election analysis to show how important or less important the vote is. So let's look at two stories here. Here is one story that was done by New York Times 2020 for the 2020 presidential election. It basically simulates, okay, these are deep blue states, these are deep red states, which mean pro-Trump states and pro-Biden states. And these are the, the so-called key states, right? Or swing state, right? That can go either way. So it allows you to predict, to say that if you simulate if Trump won all the big states plus Pennsylvania, Michigan, then he won. Okay, so of course you can reset. There's a way to I think there's a way to reset. You can also look at the other potential outcome, and you can reset it and put that again in, right? Yeah. So if he won, Biden won 2 states, then he won, right? So this is again telling you that, you know, if you are voters in these states, then probably your vote is more important than the voters in other states, right? Because in other states, you know, they are traditionally won by one of the candidates, right? So it is very hard, you know, harder to swing those states. All right. Another story is done by Malaysia Kini. They, after the constitutional amendment of Undi 18, they did this story to look at the power of young voters. Okay, they look at the Saloran results to know which political parties the young voters supported in the past election. Yeah, so they use different constituencies to show you, you know, the results, like what happened if the young voters, they all came out to vote. What is the possible scenario? It's very good data-driven reporting with a lot of numbers and visualizations, right? This is, you know, I don't think this is like for the average readers because it's very data heavy, right? But for those who are familiar with data and numbers, right, this is actually quite a good analysis. Just now I missed 2 story. One is the story by the Star. They look at it was in 2020. They look at all the questions asked by the MPs in Parliament, and they visualize it, right? So the link is here. You can look at the story after this. Another one is done by Sing Chiu. This was during the Johor state election. So I actually scraped the Johor Dun website, and I was able to extract all the questions asked by different adun from different political parties, and put all those data in a spreadsheet in an Excel file. And so what the Singju reporter did was that they used my data and compile and do some analysis to look at questions asked by different aduns from different political parties, and also what kind of topics, you know, what kind of issues they ask about, and who asked the most highest numbers of questions. For example, you can see all the red color bars. These are all DAP adun. Light blue is PKR, and deep blue is of course Barisan Nasional. All right. So these are some of the stories that, you know, you can think about, you know, before election. Another one is to look at, you know, evaluate the past performance of the governments, of the incumbents. Of course, for Malaysia right now, it's very hard to do this because this government is not that they did not serve a full term, and they did not list out promises or pledges, you know, because they did not win the election. They were formed after, you know, we all know, after Sheraton move, and then, you know, so there's no like a list of promises that we can, you know, hold them accountable. But again, there are still ways to evaluate their performance. For example, Reuters did a story about Modi's report card, and yeah, they can list out, you know, which are the promise that have been fulfilled, partially fulfilled, or not fulfilled at all, right? So if even if, right, our current ruling parties don't have a manifesto or promises, right? But from time to time, they still make promises. The prime minister still make promises that he's going to do this and that, right? So we can also hold that against them and try to see how much have been delivered, right? And another thing that would be good is to compare their performance with the other previous governments, right? So there's another story by PolitiFact in the US. Is again, they always have this old meter that measure the promise, compromise, and things like that, right? By each president. So they have, before this, they have Obama. After this, they have Trump. Now they are tracking Biden as well. So this can be done actually before to evaluate the past performance. This can also be done after the election. It's a so that you can start tracking all these things, until the next election. Another one is to compare manifestos, presented by different political parties to help voters to make their decision. So this is interesting because in Malaysia, right, our politics is very personality based, which means voters don't vote based on policies, but it's more about the individual candidate, whether they are charismatic, whether you love them or not, right? But seldom we do a careful comparison of manifesto. So this interactive quiz by Initial works like this. So it was done for the 2016 Taiwan presidential election. So first, you have to it asks you, right, if you were to vote now, who would you vote for? Okay, so between three of them. So let's say I click on one of them, and then it asks you to pick issues that matter to you the most out of the 9 issues. So let's say I pick diplomacy, housing, medical, and education, right? Then for each issue, it will ask me questions and ask me which kind of policy that I prefer. Okay, these are all policies from the manifesto from different presidential candidates. This is for medical. This is for what is this? Oh, nuclear power plant. This is judicial. I think it's legislative reform. This is the relationship with China. Education. This is about salary. This is about food security, equality in marriage. Okay, so it asks you about your personal information. You can skip it. And then it will tell you that based on your preference, right, your preferences are most aligned with this presidential candidate, which is the current president, Tsai Ing-wen. You can see that, but it's not far, right? Tsai Ing-wen, she has like almost 40% of policies aligned with you, but the other candidates is also, 1/3 of your preference are, aligned with them, with their manifesto or with their stance on different issues, right? So this is good because what and this went viral during the election. I think they received probably 200,000 users in just 10 days. Okay, so it was a huge success. And why this is helpful is because sometimes you thought that you want to vote for this presidential election, this candidate, but actually you did not do a careful comparison between your own preference in terms of policies with that candidate. And this quiz, actually helps you to, sort them out and, do a analysis for you to see which elections is actually closer to your policy preference, right? Another story by Washington Post had the same concepts, right? So there are three different candidates. These are for the primary, not the presidential election yet. These are for the Democrats' primary. And you also have to answer, I think, 20 questions. But the design is more traditional. You just scroll through and click on it, okay, and then it eventually will tell you your results. Maybe I should do it really fast so that you can see how it looks like. I'm going to put all, I just simply pick any answer, okay? Okay, done. Yep, who agrees with you the most? And it gives you this table to show your preference, compare with the political stance or views by these three candidates. All right. Right. Another one is during campaign. Of course, we want to make sure that our campaign is free and fair. And to do that, if we are able to provide more transparency to the campaign, it will help to make sure that candidates and political parties stay stay within the boundary, right? They don't do anything against the election laws and things like that. And one story by the reader, again, for the Taiwanese news website, is that they do they get data from Facebook to look at all the political ads bought during the elections and who those, which demographics those ads are targeted. So after they collect all the political ads, right, they make this interactive database. So if you this one is saying if you live in the city of Taipei, you are 35 years old, male, then, okay, 35, okay, so it is not working. I just pick one profile here, right? This interactive is not, okay, yeah, it is working. Right, so if you put in your own demographics, your profile, you'll see that these are the political ads that have been pushed to you on Facebook by different candidates, right? They're supposed to have pictures here, but I'm not sure why this website don't work anymore, because it was a few years ago. I think it was for the 2020 election. So you can see that these are all the political posts, political ads, sponsored ads, right? Pushed to you on Facebook, right? According to your demographics, because on Facebook you are able to target different demographics with different information, different posts, and this is what the political party and candidates they usually do. Why this is important, because it is able to monitor what kind of political ads they have been putting out, to see if there's any violation, for example, hate speech, misinformation, right, or racist, sexist, those kind of information, right? So this helps to keep the politicians in check, right? Okay, so if you change a different profile, then you will see different political ads, right? So where do they get this information? They got it from Facebook, right? It says that Facebook make it public, their political ads. Okay, I won't go deep insight into the political ads, because there's another workshop by Craig Silverman, who is an expert in investigating social media ads, right? So if you attended that workshop, you should know how to access the political ads and how do we check them and things like that. All right. But I just want to show you, this information can help you to increase the transparency level during the campaign period. Okay, another one, money politics, political ads. Again, political ads and money politics, right? So this story, let me show you, again by the same publication reader. They have done quite a number of good projects during elections, is to look at the billboards. This one, they don't have the data from any source, but they do a crowd sourcing. So if I click on it, it is showing. Give it some time, it is showing. So it asks the readers to take a picture if they see any political ads. Oops. If they see any political ads, and take a pictures and submit to them so that they can collect all the billboards. Is it? Hold on. Is it showing? Let me go to the 2018 one. This is the 2018 database. All right. So, I'm not sure why it's not working now. But what happened is that if you select the different locations and the presidential candidates, right, you will be able to see the billboards that they have put up. I think it's not working anymore. All right, sorry about that. And they do a calculation of how many billboards put up by a specific candidate and how much would that cost, because it is actually not hard to estimate the cost of a billboard. Okay, it's quite standard. So in that case, they are able to monitor how much has been spent on political billboards, right? For example, so in Malaysian context, you probably can do the same thing, right? The billboards and other kind of like publications. You can also look at, for example, you can collect TV ads, newspapers ads, although not many people read newspapers nowadays. But TV ads, could be a good data as well as this kind of like political billboards. You can see it here. So this is when the database is supposed to work. When you click on the location, it shows you the billboards, and these are submitted by the readers. Okay. Right. Then election day, I don't plan to go into this. We all know what happened on election day. Everyone is fighting to give you the fastest results, and you all know, for those who have covered election before, you all know where to get results. And nowadays we have a more competitive SPR that also put up, live informal results. So you don't have to rely on political parties. Now you can also follow the SPR results. It's quite fast as well sometimes. And after the election, what you can do is to do, of course, results analysis to see how the swing between parties, that is the most common analysis to do. So I won't go too much into that. Another one is to look at, the results, how it correlates with voter demographic. For example, this two maps compare the results of Le Pen. This is the French presidential election. Le Pen lost to Macron, right? And you can see that, the areas where Le Pen, the opposition, where she got the most votes, correlates with the unemployment rate in those constituencies. If in constituencies where economy is bad, there are higher unemployment rates, they tend to support Le Pen more. All right. One story that I want to show you is done by New York Times, which is very interesting. It looked at the voting behavior in the presidential election in the US, and they found that a neighborhood with higher percentage of immigrant, right, which means, people who were not born in the US, they actually swing towards Trump and not Biden. You would think that, okay, Biden is more pro-immigrant, Trump is anti-immigrant, but the results show that immigrant neighborhood actually shifted to red. Okay, they did this very nice visualization, this map, to show the swing. Yep. All right. Okay, because of time, I will need to finish my presentation soon. Okay, cool. This is the last slide before we go into our practical session. This is post-election, right? Just now we look at post-election, you do the results analysis. Another very important thing is to introduce the elected lawmakers to your readers. So how can you do that? There's one example I want to show you. is by Call Matters. This is a local newspaper in the state of California. After the election, they did this interactive. Yeah, this is quite interesting because it shows you all the elected representatives in the state assembly, right, of California. And here you're able to pick, people like you, okay, legislators that are like you. So you put in your own demographic or your own your self-identified data. So let's say you are a Democrat, you are Black, and you are a male. Okay, and then in my 20s, there you can see that there's one lawmaker that is like you, right? This guy, he was born in 1992, so in his 20s, right? He's a Democrat and he's a Black, right? But if you put in, like if you make less money, then there's no candidate that looks like you. If you make 100,000 and more, okay, he's still there, right? So this is to help you to know who are your legislators, right? But by looking at your own demographics to see who is like you, right? So I think it's quite interesting because not just it is not just like introducing a lawmakers one by one, the traditional way. This one, it includes your own characteristic to make it more relevant to you, right? So let's say I want to find any LGBTQ lawmaker. Oh, there are several of them, right? And LGBT but Republican? No, there's none. I think LGBT is only in Democrats, yes. And then most of them actually earn a lot of money. If I put less than 100,000, then nobody. So let's see how many lawmakers earn less than 100,000. No one. Actually, no one earn less than 100,000 annually. Yeah. Okay, so that is how you can do like this kind of interactive to introduce lawmakers after the election. And of course, after the election, there are also a lot of works that you can do, including monitoring their performance until the next election, to make sure to see whether they keep their promises and pledges they make during the election, and whether they are able to deliver their manifesto. All right. Just now was some different ideas on covering election with data. Next, I'm going to share with you some practical tools and skills that you can start using today, right? If you want. Of course, I won't be able to cover everything from how to find data to data analysis to data visualization, making a maps. But here I'm going to cover just two things. First is how do we convert data from a PDF table to a spreadsheet, and second is how do we make a simple election map for Malaysia. All right, let's do the conversion first. So many of you know that most of our data, especially the official data, if you are getting data from, let's say you want to get data from SPR, okay, most probably they will give you data in PDF format in a table. This is not good because you can't really copy paste them into Excel file. Most of the time they don't work. Okay, they just don't work. You copy paste, they don't work, right? So sometimes you have to copy. If you really want to do copy and paste, you need to copy the figure one by one, right? For example, this table, I think this is actually quite a good table. If I copy and paste, let me remove this. If I copy and paste the data, oops. Right, so let's do it together. Go to this share folder. I put the link in the chat box. I'm going to put that again. you will go to this folder and please download the new voters Selangor. Download it. Okay. I'm going to download it now. And I'm going to open it. This is how it looks like. That is PDF. I got this from the Parliament Hansard. So if you're looking for voters data, of course, you should approach SPR for it. But sometimes SPR, they ignore a lot of requests for data. If you want to, for example, get the full results from SPR, which means full result means that not just for each parliament seat and state seat, but also the daerah mengundi, which is the polling station, and the saluran results, which is the different classrooms in a polling station. Usually, if you go to a polling station, if it's a school, then you will expect different classroom, right? When you go vote, they will give you a number, whether you are 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, right? For example, those are called saluran. Saluran are divided based on age. So the saluran 1 and 2 are saluran for older people. Saluran 4 and 5, for example, are saluran for younger voters. Okay, so if you want those kind of very detailed results, it is available with SPR, of course, but I think you have to buy from SPR. They don't give it out for free. If you go to the SPR website, they don't make that public as well. They only make the parliamentary and the state seat top line results available. Top line means the total numbers. You can't go into each polling station. You can't go into each saluran. Okay, so if you want to get those numbers, then you probably have to ask them, and they probably want to sell it to you. How much does it cost? I'm not sure. You have to check with them. They don't put up a price list on their website, unfortunately, right? Yeah. So another way of getting data, but usually not election results, other kind of voters data is through Parliament. So what happened in Parliament is that many MPs ask a lot of questions in Parliament about voters data and statistics, and government will give them the answer through oral answer or through written answer, and all these answers are available in the Parliament website under Hansard. If you check their Hansard, so again, this is the age distribution for Selangor, all the parliament seats in Selangor after the constitutional amendments of Undi 18. All right. So let's say I want to do a simple calculation. I want to know for each parliament seat, what is the percentage for different age group. Right now, I have the numbers, right? But I don't have the percentage. I want to know, let's say, young voters, which constituency has the highest composition of young voters. I can't do that here. I can't see that here because I need to calculate the percentage for each age group, right? And I will have to transfer all the data to a spreadsheet, whether it's on Google Sheets, whether it's on Excel, so that I can then make the calculation. And this is where the problem starts, right? If you just copy, you can see that it's very hard to select all the numbers. You can see that my mouse doesn't work. Yeah, this is a problem, right? I'll just, come on. Oh, doesn't work. You can try. You can try to see if it works, if you're able to select everything. Okay, I think I'm able to select everything here. Copy, put into a spreadsheet. Okay, this looks good, right? Actually not, if you look at carefully. Not sure why. Just now it looks like this. Let me just show you that. It looks like it is like age group on the top here. On the side here is different parliamentary constituency. But now the parliament constituency is at the bottom and the age group is here. So I'm not sure what happened. So this is one of the problems, right? Every time you copy and paste, things don't go well, from PDF to spreadsheets. And this is where we are. We need to use some tools to convert to convert PDF table in PDF into a clean spreadsheet. And this is where I'm going to show you what are the tools that I like and the one that I want to recommend to you. All right. So there are three tools here: Adobe, Tabula, and Comet Docs. Right, three tools here. Again, you can get all the links from the share documents that I put into the share folder. Okay, all the links are here. Okay, but I'm going to show you how it works. First, my favorite is called Tabula. Tabula is a free tool. That's why I like it. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. It is developed by journalists and for journalists. So all tools have their own pro and cons. The good thing about Tabula is that it's free. The not so good thing about Tabula is that you have to download and run it on your computer. So let me just run it on my computer, and I will show you how it works. Tabula, right? So I'm opening Tabula right now. Give me a few seconds. When I run Tabula, so first you download here based on what OS you're using. After that, you can run it from the computer. It will open up a new tab on your default browser. So I'm using Chrome as my default browser. It opens up a new tab here. And this is how the interface looks like. I can browse my computer to look for the PDF. After I found it, I click import. Okay, and it will be here. So I'm just going to show you the new voter Selangor Undi 18. The PDF that I just showed you just now here. Okay, when you import it into Tabula, you will see this. Okay, and another good thing about Tabula is that you can select the table that you want to convert. So let's say I want to convert just part of it. I can do something like this. Okay, if I want to convert the whole table, of course, I can select the whole table. Okay. Usually I will move the frame inside the border. All right. So once I'm done with that, I can click preview and export extracted data, and it would convert, hopefully, yes, all the data for me, right? There is some error. If you look at it, you'll see that the last row is not properly converted. Okay, the last row should be Keng. Keng is not here, but it's an easy fix, right? You just have to move the data one column to the right, and you should be able to fix it. All right. If this result doesn't work for you, if it doesn't appear correctly, one option to adjust that is to click on the extraction method. That's a stream and lattice. So right now it's using lattice. You can try stream. And doesn't work because you can see that here it combines these two different age groups and it becomes like this. So this is not good. I should go back to lattice. Okay, so this is the best result I can get from Tabula. So here you're able to export it as a CSV, or I just copied it. I can just use copy, Control C, right? Or just click copy. Then I can put it here. Done. I just have to fix the last row, right? By moving it one column to the right. And I'll just have to put, Kuang, which is P110. Right, done. So I have, this perfect table from the PDF, and that solved my problem. All right. So let's say you don't like Tabula because your computer doesn't allow you to download things, or you download it, it doesn't work right. There are alternatives. One is called Comet Docs. Okay, Comet Docs requires you to upload your file here, and then you can then convert into Excel. Right. The so you can skip. Right. Skip. Okay, so you can see you can put your file here. After that, you can do convert and you can pick Excel. So the bad things, of course, the cons about Command Docs is that you can have a free account, but there's a limit of how many files you can convert every day. You can look at the plans and pricing. You'll see that 1 month is about $10 US. And these are the features for free account. There's a file limit called, you can only do 5 conversion per week. Okay. If you have an account, then it's unlimited. All right. I actually have an account, right? But Command Docs doesn't allow you to select table. If you upload the whole PDF, it would convert everything, including the title here, which is not a huge problem. You just have to remove it, and you will still have this table in an Excel file. All right, this is Command Docs. But before, if your table, right, is in a large file, let's say you have 100 pages PDF file, your table is on the second page. Okay, don't upload the whole 100-page PDF, right? Because that will use up your quota, your storage file, your storage, and your limit pretty quick. So what you can do is that you should split your PDF, right? How do you split your PDF? If you have Adobe Acrobat Reader, you can do that using that. If you don't have access to this kind of expensive, software, you can just go and search for split PDF. And there are a lot of online free tools that allows you to split your PDF. So if this table is actually from the Hansard. The Hansard is like a few hundred pages. So I split this particular page into a separate PDF. Then only I convert this page, right? This new PDF with only 1 page, which is the table I want. Okay, that's the tips. Okay. Another one that is free tool, but also with limit, is Adobe Acrobat itself. It has an online portal here that allows you to convert PDF to Excel. What you can do very easily is to drag your file and drop here. You can't select the table. It is going to convert everything on the PDF to a spreadsheet, but it's pretty straightforward. You click export to XLS. And it says your file is ready and you can download it. Yeah, this is the file. This is the Excel file. Looks pretty good, right? Much better than Tabula, I think. But again, Acrobat, Adobe, because it's Adobe, you have a limit of how many files you can convert every day. And if you want to have more, you have to have a paid subscription to Adobe. Some of your newsrooms or organizations might have that, so use that, don't waste it. All right. So these are some of the tools that you can use for conversion. Okay. One thing that I need to remind you is that for Tabula, another con, the last good thing is that if the table is it's not computer generated, which means that you took a picture. Let's say you take a picture of a table on a physical report. Okay, you take a picture and you save it as a PDF. And in that case, you won't be able to convert it using Tabula. Tabula only recognize computer-generated PDF, which means PDF that probably provide to you by the governments, the departments, or PDF where you are able to select the fonts. You understand that? You are able to select it, right? If you just take a picture from a screen which has a table, or from a book that has a table, right? You can't select the font like this, right? So in that case, your best bet would be Adobe. Adobe would be able to OCR. OCR means optical character recognition. which means converting image-based file into word-based. Okay, so Adobe is able to recognize all the different wordings, on an image, convert it into Word, and then convert it into table. So it does 2 steps. Tabula doesn't do that. All right. So again, my approach is usually Tabula is my go-to tool, the first one. If it doesn't work, then I will look at other alternatives, including Command Docs and Adobe. Okay. And if all of them don't work, then you can try to get your intern to help you. I'm kidding. Don't ask your intern to do this kind of things, right? These kind of things can be solved by tools, right? Don't waste their time. Give them more meaningful job to do. All right. These are the tools. We have about 25 minutes left. I think we have enough time to cover one more tool that I want to introduce to you. So far, any questions on PDF conversion? We have 63 people online. Wow. Pretty good attendance. All right, no questions, no comments, nothing. Then we move on to the next tool, which is a more complicated, which is a map making for elections. So before we go into that, just a very quick introduction of 2 types of maps. On the left, you can see this is the map that show the geographical areas for Sarawak. This is, I made this for the Sarawak state election. So these are all state seats, okay? On right-hand side, this also shows Sarawak, but in a distorted shape. Each dune or each state seat is represented by a hexagon. So because it's made by hexagon, we usually call this a hex map, okay? Or a cartogram, hex map, right? Or cartogram. So what is the benefits of the left format, and what are the benefits for the right format? Like why, which map do you prefer? Any thought? You can put that in the chat box. What are the pros and cons for these 2 different formats? Any ideas? No one has any thought? Okay. I'm looking at the chat box. Okay, thanks, One Rohila. You say that the left looks sophisticated, okay? Okay, Fion said that the actual map could show the border of each dune. Yep, this one shows you the accurate geographical boundary. Oh, Adila is here. My former colleague. Prefer hex for quick and easy understanding, but either one gives an idea of disproportionality in the size of constituencies. Okay, Anchi, again, my ex-colleague. All my ex-colleagues are here because cartograms makes dune size equal. All right, yep. Basically, they hit all the points. The left-hand side, right, it shows you how big the state seat is, the constituency, but it doesn't do justice to very small state seats with high population. So if you look at this, the one on the left, right, you see that this area, here there are actually 4 seats won by DAP, the red color one. But you don't see them because they're too small, right? Because this is the city of Kuching, okay? And there are dense population, highly populated, and very small constituencies, right? Small in terms of area, not population, not number of voters, right? And there are actually 4 seats here, right? But you don't see that in this map, right? For those seats that are like huge, for example, the seat here, the 2 seats here, right? They are huge, but there are actually very few voters, right? So in the election, right, these seats are not the important seats, right? Because they look big on the map, but they don't have that many population or voters. So all the seats with high number of voters, they are actually concentrated here. the Miri, the Cebu, and the Kuching metropolitan areas. Okay. Sorry, Monsieur. Right. But so if you convert it into a hex map, that is easier for you to see the seat distribution. You can see that DAP actually won 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 seats here. Sorry, not DAP. This one should be Pakatan Harapan, right? Not just DAP. DAP is just part of the coalition. Pakatan Harapan won 4 seats here, and then another few seats here and there, right? So here you don't even see that there's actually the seat here and here. Okay, but this one lets you see that very clearly. Okay, so this is the advantage of making a hex map. But the problem is that for a hex map, right, it becomes distorted. You don't see the shape or the boundary, right, of each constituency. So, you know, whenever there are, of course, good and bad for both maps. Sometimes in some circumstances, you might want to prefer the first one. But if you just want to show the number of seats, right, the right one might be a better choice, right? So with that understanding, I'm going to show you how to make a map using a tool called Flourish. I think most of you who have attended my workshop know that tool already. So it's flourish.studio. If you have time now, everyone, and you don't want to fall asleep, I really encourage you to open it up, register a new account if you don't have an account yet, and we can do the exercise together. All right. For those who don't have an account, open up, register a new account. I have already one, so I'm going to sign into my own account. Once you're in your account, you should pick new visualization. Okay. By the way, this whole session is recorded, so if you miss any of the steps here, you can always rewatch the recording, which will be made available soon, and just follow it again. So you click new visualization, and there's one. These are all the different data visualizations, right? Charts that you can make using Flourish. And when you register, yeah, you can just register with a free account. You don't even need a paid account because free account is quite powerful. And Flourish was just acquired by Canva. So soon you'll be able to find Flourish features and functions on Canva. I'm not sure whether they are going to bring Canva into Flourish. So here, the projection map, under projection map, this is where we can make a map, right? Using the templates here. But if you look through all the different countries here, you won't be able to see Malaysia. Well, Malaysia is just too small for anyone to, and it's not that important compared to others. So you can see for US, right, they have actually a hex map for US for different states, right? And they even have electoral college diagram for US. But for Asian country, I think only India is available here. So in this case, right, since there's no template for Malaysia, we will have to upload our own template. So you should choose the first one, which is the blank template. This allows you to upload your own map file. Okay, so I'm going to pick the first one. And now we are here. There are two major panels here. First is called preview, and then the second one is called data. Okay, preview is how your map or how your visualization looks like, and you can use all the options here to style it, change the color, the fonts, the size. And data is where you're able to upload your data and edit your data here, just like any spreadsheet or Excel. Okay, so I have shared with you a election parliament map for the 2018 election, which can be used for the next election because there was no redelineation in the past 5 years. Sorry, the past 4 years. Okay, so download this, please. Download it. This is a .json file. When you see GeoJSON, it means it is a map file. A map file means, they have like different shapes, different polygons in the files, and you can only see them using a mapping software. All right. You can't use like Microsoft Word to open it or Excel to open it. You won't be able to see the polygons, right? You need a mapping software. For example, one very popular mapping software, and it's free, is called QGIS. 4 alphabets, right? QGIS. Okay, but this is not a workshop for QGIS. We can upload the file to Flourish, and we are able to see the shapes as well. So here we are going to click Upload Data. Okay, but before that, if you click in the drop-down menu, you see there are 3 different options: upload data file, upload data, and merge, import from URL. And you can see that, for us, we just want to replace data with uploaded file. We want to replace the data here, which is blank, with our own file. If you have a second data file you want to merge with the first file, then you pick the second one. So for the first one, for now, we pick the first option and we click upload data file. And I'm going to upload the GeoJSON file. Where is it? Here. So you can download from my folder here and upload it. And click import. You can see that it has uploaded 223 rows. Okay. 223, why there are 223? There are only 222 parliamentary seats, right? Because there is one row of the title, or we call it the header, right? The title. So now you can see that there are 222 different geometry. These are all the shapes for all the different constituency. There is the parliament name of the constituency, the code, which state it is in, how many voters in last election for, so this is not very relevant for the current parliament, for the upcoming election. The area, how big, how small it is, whether it is a Felda seat or not, I won't believe 100% this data. Oh, by the way, this map file is from Tindak Malaysia. So Tindak Malaysia is a Malaysian NGO. They do political polling aid. So they do election polling agent and counting agent training. They also do a lot of electoral reforms initiatives, right? And one of their expertise is converting, is making election maps. So they bought the maps from SBR, right? If you want to get the constituency map, right, you can buy from SBR, and SBR will sell you the physical copy, which means the paper. So once you have the paper, they have the digital version, but I don't think they sell it. So they have the paper version, and you get a paper, you scan it, and you have to track the boundary using special software, for example, QGIS, and then you're able to generate the digital map file. And this is what they do in Tindak Malaysia. So if you want to get all the constituencies map files from for the elections, you might want to talk to them, right? Talk to Tindak Malaysia. There is contact info here. You can get all kinds of information. They also have the election results data with them. Okay, this map file is from them. So you can see that they put it, which one is Felda seat. Probably it means, it has a Felda settlement in that constituency. Majority gender, youth vote, majority ethnic, winning Kuek, I think this is the winning political parties in the last election, and who are the MP that won that election. Okay, and there are other information about that candidate. Okay, so these are the information that we have. Now let's look at preview. So we should be able to see the map here. Actually, the map is really here, but it's just a very small one. You can see here. This is the map, the Malaysia map, because right now Flourish is showing you the world map. So Malaysia is here. So in order for us to zoom into Malaysia here, we can change the option under projection from world. World means that show me the whole world, to auto. Auto means that only shows me where my polygons or where my shapes are. You click on auto, it should shows up here. If it doesn't show up, like the case here, probably it's because your internet connection is not very ideal. In that case, very easy, just refresh it. Yeah, now you see the Malaysian map, right? Just refresh it. Sometimes when things supposed to happen and it doesn't happen, probably you just have to refresh it. Okay. So once I refresh it, you can see that this map is not the usual map that we see. It's a bit distorted, right? That is because of the projection. Projection means how you want to project the map on a flat surface, right? And if you want to have the one that is more typical, you should choose the Miller. If you scroll down, there's a Miller, or called modified Mercator. This is the one that we always see on textbooks, Google Maps, things like that. So if I click on Miller, now this is the more typical one, right? The shape. Actually, all these projections are correct. It's just that different ways of projecting the shapes on a flat surface. All right, so now we have all these constituencies, right? So what if we want to color the constituency based on the data? We can do so, right? So if you have the results, then maybe you want to color the results, color the polygons, based on the majority, right? So that you can see that which one is a strong, a Pakatan stronghold or a Barisan Nasional stronghold, which one won in very small margin, things like that, right? But in this case, our data here, we have the winning parties, right? So why not we make a map to show which party won which constituency? So in order to do that, we need to tell Flourish which column we would like to use to color the polygons. Okay, so which is this column M, right? So if you look at the panels here, you'll see that there are name, label, value, group, metadata, and there are some boxes here that you can fill in. So geometry is A. By default, geometry means the shapes, right? So we don't have to change that. For name, you can pick which column is the name for that polygon. In this case, it would be the name for the parliament or the code, right? So I'm going to put parliament. So I'm going to put F, which means column F is the name for the columns, for the polygon. So now, once you have put F here, this column would be colored into the same color as this box here, right? Purple color. Label, right? The name that used for region label on the map. I'm not going to put any label, because if I put label, let's say I put label as F, you will see that I will see all this label. So I will have 222 label, which is too much, right? So I'm going to leave it blank. Value is the one that you use to color the polygons. So the value should be M, the political party. So I'm going to put M. And now you see that all the different constituencies are colored based on the different political parties and based on color M. All right. Group, experimental group allows you to draw borders around groups of region. For example, state borders. So I can try to put the state column D as group if I want to have the state border. So let's see. So now you can see, right? You can see the state border, right? It's in white, right? But probably it's not that useful. So it really depends on what you want to show. So if I remove it, the white border will be gone, right? The very thick white border that shows the state border is gone. All right. And metadata for pops up. Pops ups means when you hover over, what kind of information you want to show. So right now it is showing the name of the constituency and also the winning political party. So let's say I want to have the name of the MP. I'm going to put N. Actually, I can put more than one column because it's the meta. I can put more than one column. So let's say I'm going to put I'm going to put the, let's say, right, I'm going to put the voters number as well. Okay. So I'm going to put a comma and then G, N and G. All right. So N and G now becomes green color. And you will see that now you have the MP, the voters number, and the winning political party, right? All right. So we're almost there. Just to bear in mind that there are some errors in this data set. So if you are using it, remember to change it. For example, Masjid Tanah Mas Emirati, she is not bebas. She was contesting under the Barisan Nasional ticket. Okay, I'm not sure why they make this mistake of putting her as bebas, right? So don't trust 100% the data here. But if you want to fix the data, it's actually very, very easy. You just have it works like any spreadsheets. So I can just now I show you like Masjid Tanah Mas Emirati, right? She is actually under BN, so I can change it to BN. I think Bagan Serai Bukit Gantang also under BN, right? So you can check all the data. So as I mentioned earlier, don't believe all the data here, right? But this is actually a good this gives you the polygons, not the data. Okay, if you want to add your own data, right, what you can do is that one way of doing that is to upload another data set and merge it, okay, which is quite complicated. Another simple way of doing that is actually, you can sort the code parliament, right, 1 to 222, okay, 2222, and then you can insert a column, okay, let's say majority. You have the majority number, and you just have to put your majority, copy your majority from another spreadsheet and copy it here. So you go here, you're like, let's say you have the majority, you have the code parliament, and then you have the majority, okay, and you sort your code parliament from lowest to highest, which means 0, 1, 2, 3, right, up until 2, 2, 2, okay, and then you have some majority here, right, then you can just copy the whole column here and put inside here. Oh, sorry, put inside here. I just do a very quick demo, and you just put inside here, right? So then you can have a new column, and you can then color the new column, and you can then color the polygons based on the new column. Okay, simple as that, right? If you don't need this, you can remove the column, right? So you can edit the data here, just like you do with a spreadsheet. Okay, and why just now I sort this, because I need to make sure that this the sequence of here is same as the sequence here. Okay, so that I can do copy and paste to match the majority with each parliament, with each constituency. Okay, don't have much time left. I know I'm looking at the time. So the last, we just go beyond 5 minutes just to show you how you can style the map and export the map. Okay, right now the colors are random colors. You can change the colors by going to region layer. There's a color palette here, right? Right now it is following this color. Start with blue, yellow, green, purple, blue, yellow, green, purple, right? So if you want to change this color, very easy. You just have to click edit color palette. The first blue is for BN, right? So I'm going to change the color on BN. BN is probably nearer to this color. Okay. And now I change the color of BN, right? So if you want to find the exact color for Barisan Nasional, you have to go and look for the hex code. This is called a hex code, right? It starts with a hashtag. Each color has a hex code, in digital printing or digital publication. Okay, you can go and always look for, let's say, Malaysia flag hex code. You can just Google it. It will shows you Malaysia flag hex code. The blue is the hex code is this. The red is this hex code, right? And you also have like RGB and CMYK. Okay, and which means that here you can also change it, like this is RGB, this is HSL hex code, right? So if you use the RGB code for the color here 10102, you will get that particular color. Okay, so this is how you can change color. Or you can, like, if you have a very good eyesight, to choose color, you can also choose from the color maps here. Okay, so done. The second one is pH. So pH should be red color. I'm just simply pick any color. Yeah, but if you want it to be the exact color that pH used, you should find out the color code for that. Yeah, so this is how you can change the color. Right, so now I change the two color, and Gagasan Sejahtera, correct. This is pass. Pass probably is, I'm not sure, like here. Yeah, probably darker. Okay, done. Okay, so now I have the three colors, and then you can change all the different colors if you want. Another way of changing color is to do custom override. So there's a question marks here. It tells you like how you can change the color manually. For example, party 1 red, party 2, there's a hex code, right? So let's say I'm going to put BN column, and I'm going to put a color code. Let's say I'm going to put the color code for Malaysia blue, Malaysia flag blue. Okay, let's say I just put it here, and then done. Now you can see that the color just changed. Okay, if I remove this, the color would go back to this color, this blue color in the palette. Okay, right? So I can do the BN color code, and I can also do like pH. I want to change two color, then I'll just put the second line, the same color. Let's say pH and BN has the same color. Now you can see that they all have the same color, BN and pH, because I override the color here. Just make sure this pH and BN follows the column name, follow the data here. It has to be exactly the same, right? If it's capital, then it should be capital. If I just put in small, pH doesn't work. It will revert back to the red color here, right? So this is another way of changing the color. First, change the color palette. If you don't want that, you do the custom override. Yes, you can do that by typing and also typing the color. All right. What else I want to show you? You can play with all the different options here and see how it affects the look of your map. Okay, so all the things can be customized here. Another thing that is good to know is that the pop-up, which means when your readers mouse over, they're able to see the details. So right now it says for winning code, GPS, right? So if you don't want to have the word winning code because it doesn't really make sense, then you can actually change it to here, winner, okay? And you see that now it becomes winner, okay? Winner GPS, right? Okay. Or you can also change, customize the pop-up box here by going to pop-up and pop-up content, go to custom, and this is where you're able to change your data. So for example, right now, if I don't do any, if I maintain it, it becomes like this pop-up header because it follows here, right? Pop-up header. So if I want to show the name of the parliament, right, I will have to put the column name in double curly bracket. Okay. And now you can see that the header should show the name of the constituency. And inside here, I can put, for example, who won? Then I put double bracket and I put MP. Okay, and now you see who won the MP name. If you want to go to a second line, remember that you need to do a line break, which is this code, line break. And you can do another which party, for example. I just made this up, okay? And I put winner, which is the column name, remember? The column name is winner, okay? And then enter, and you can see how it looks like. Who won the MP name? Which party? The winner name. Okay, so this is how you can customize your pop-up. I'm going to put this in the share Google Doc here, so you're able to copy and paste. Okay, so then you can play with that. You can play with all this different customization. You can even put it a title. Okay, election map 2018, for example. Then you have a title, right? You can have a subtitle. You can have a source as well. It's always good to have a source. Okay, so SPR, for example, and then you can put in the URL spr.gov.my. Okay, then that's a link that opens up the SPR website, right? All right. Last but not least is once you're finished, you click export and publish. Click publish, publish. And now you're able to embed the map on your website, just like how you embed a YouTube video. Okay, so there are three options, three different kind of embed code. Okay, the recommended is called script. This is the code. But if this doesn't work for your platform, maybe you are using a CMS that doesn't accept script, then the most common one would be a iframe, right? Iframe is like you embed a YouTube video. Okay. They also give you an iframe code you can copy paste into your CMS or your publishing platform. And if you want to try to see how it looks like before you put it onto your website, or maybe you don't have access to your CMS, you can't test it out, you can always go to this website called codepen.io. I have put that here, okay, to test the embed code, okay. CodePen is where developers use to test their code. You don't have to sign up for anything to sign in. You don't have to open an account. You just have to click Start Coding and put that embed code in under HTML. Ignore the CSS and JS. Ignore them. And you should see your map here. Yep. And this is how your map looks like, behave, and how it behaves when you embed into your website. Okay, it is responsive, which means that if you have a smaller screen, it looks like this. Okay, if you have a bigger screen, it looks like this. If you're on mobile, it could be quite bad because it would become very small. So I won't recommend using this map for mobile because it's going to be very, very small. If I'm going to use this, I probably will split the map file into Peninsular and Sabah Sarawak, one up and one down, so that it's easier to navigate on the mobile. So the whole map becomes a vertical map, right? But how to do that? That is a much more complicated. You probably need to make two maps, and you need to know how to edit the map file to split them into two different maps. Okay, I won't be able to cover this, and that is too technical, right? But yeah, so this is how you can embed your code, right? If you want it to be bigger, like longer, right? Remember that if you're using an iframe, there's a height here. It's 600, right? So if you want to make it longer, you can probably put 800. And once you select 800, copy the code again and try it. This now is supposed to give me a much bigger map. Now you see it's 800. It's much taller. All right. Before I finish, I hope that shows you how to make a very quick map and how you can publish it. Oh yeah, you can also download it as an image if you want to put it in a newspaper, or you just want it as a static map on your website. Okay, you can always do that. The embed code allows interactivity, so your readers can browse and they can also search. Okay. And before I finish the workshop today, just to show you PB, a visualization or consultancy based in Singapore. What happens is that they have received some funding to make data visualization components for Malaysian elections, and it's free to be used by all the newsrooms in Malaysia. Okay, this is what they told me. You can, the same GDoc that I share with you here. Okay, they are going to make some data visualizations for the elections, and everyone can use it and can embed it free in their websites. If you want to get in touch, please email Yan. His name is Yan, and the founder of TV. This is his email, to tell him that, okay, who are you, which organization you are from, and you would like to have access to those visualizations. They are not published yet. They are still making it, but their aim is, of course, to have it in the next, I think, 1 or 2 months, to have all the components there and with the data, so that everyone can use. It is free because they receive some funding to make this as a CSR. All right. Sorry, I think we are 10 minutes beyond the schedule, and that's all I want to share with you. If you have any questions, we can spend the next 1-2 minutes to answer some questions. If not, feel free to email me if you have any questions. My email is on the screen. I can also put it in the chat box. Thanks for coming, everyone. I know it's a Saturday and it's quite early. Sorry, it's not a Saturday, you see. It's Wednesday, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Keng. I think there's one question, Keng. I'm not sure if you addressed it. Projection Miller ni suit untuk semua kegunaan normal ke, Mr. Keng? Did you answer that already?
No, I actually did not see that. Oh, projection Miller ni suit untuk semua kegunaan normal ke, Mr. Keng? Oh, projection Miller is the most common projection that we see. If you look at all our textbooks, yeah, they all use the Miller, or we call it Mercator projection. Yeah, so that is usually the one that everyone sees. So if you use that one, it's quite safe. Technically, right? Technically, Mercator is not a very accurate projection, but that's a totally separate questions. If you just go and Google about map projection, Mercator, or why is it bad? Something like that. You see some criticism against Mercator, but so far Mercator is the most popular projection. And if you use that, then people will not ask you that, hey, why your map looks distorted, why your map looks different. Yeah, so yeah, it's safe just to use Miller or Mercator. Yeah.